Hey, what's up, guys? I got another deck list for you today. Now, this is, of course, a Radiant Steel Junior deck that I've been working on, slightly here and there. The numbers are not necessarily final. I've actually just kind of did like a last-second move around on some numbers before I uploaded this list, but as you can see, the deck's kind of built around the allies and balls more than the drills. I do have one of each like drill. I actually originally had two assistance drill, but I ended up cutting it down to one for spacing purposes, but yeah, the deck is just trying to go for more like life card beats than anything. Trillis allies in here, Vegeta allies in here. Um, but Vegeta ally doesn't really give me a ton of mileage, I suppose, so maybe I could cut him, but I ultimately, wanted to run a bunch of the allies. And yeah, I guess it's pretty simple, but the deck is just trying to kick out the balls with the level 1 power, the Radiant Mastery power, or it kicks out the allies to try to do some beatdown. This all depends. You have a very good like arsenal, of course, with allies like Nappa and Ginyu out, Paragus to beat combating decks. You also get some of the utility off like Ball 2 and 4. 4 is kind of tricky to play in your deck because if they take it, they kill your allies, but we do have some defense against capping Dragon Balls, as well as using their effects in the deck. Um, the deck does some pretty respectable damage when you get Turles Ally out. Not to mention the fact that there's some pretty beefy attacks in the deck in the form of Chest Explosion and Force Push. Salvo is no slack either. This card can come in for like 10 life cards pretty easily. And then, of course, Onslaught I just threw in here because I'm usually pretty good at keeping the Dragon Balls out. This card, especially with like Turles Ally out, can come in for some pretty hot damage. Yeah, everything here is does a pretty good job, I think, of what it does. There's some decent anger hate in the form of the attacks, with 4 of the attacks lowering anger potentially, as well as Ball 2 being in the deck. Not really too many ways to loop the Dragon Balls. We do have Surge, can put them back in the deck, same with Flinch, otherwise they're just out there. I'd say against the anger deck, you're just going to try to hold on to Maxwells and catch them when you can and slow them down. Nappa Alley will slow a lot of the anger decks down because a lot of them are setup based, in like red for example, or combat ending based. So Paragus, of course, can slow them down a little bit. We have a good range of stage mitigation in terms of stage damage with the allies, as well as combat drill and a high block count. I have 10 cards that can block physical attacks. Not to mention King Vegeta ally can also prevent an attack, so you should be pretty set with the combat drill as well. Against physical, there's respectable endurance. Maybe I would throw another buffer in since I did lower a little bit of the endurance with some of my last round of changes. But yeah, you're going to just be trying to life card beat gradually, slow their anger down enough that you can get the Dragon Balls out, or you hit them with some big nukes with Chest Explosions for some pretty big damage, or some Force Pushes for pretty big damage. Onslaught, of course, once you get a little established and you get the modifier going, can be pretty destructive too. You do some 7 life card bombs with these, 14 life card trade, which is pretty nice. There's not a ton of rejuve in the deck, which is one of the weak points. I originally had Namekian silencing in the deck, but I was never getting the active, the parenthetical proc on it, which ended up me having to try to fit in stare down. I only have 1. I'd love to run this at least at a 2, if not a 3. I could maybe see dropping Onslaught down to 2 to put a stare down in. But I run such a high block count too, like, I don't know. Wouldn't be a bad idea. Excuse me. But I could see dropping Vegeta ally, honestly, for a second stare down. Wouldn't be a bad idea. I just don't get much mileage out of Vegeta. So that would be pretty decent idea. I think I'm just gonna do that. I'd say just go 2 stare down, no Vegeta, just because I'm not running many physicals. But because of Vegeta ally and Trilla ally, a lot of people want to run backhand with Cell Junior, which is a neat gimmick. I don't know if I'd run Radiant, for that. I think Enlightens would be pretty decent, but I just think with the Namekian's ally package stuff, you gotta at least run the allies with Flinch and Chest Explosion existing. It's just too good to not run. So, but I'll get into the attack lineup since that's really where the meat is. Like I said, 3 Onslaught. I run 3 Sidekick, 3 Maxwell for the anger hate. Sidekick being life card damage is really nice too because it's very easy to get 3 balls out. If one of them is ball 1, this is immediately a critical attack. So like every attack in this deck can crit, which is really great because of the modifiers. Chest Explosion helps me search my allies out quicker, which is just sweet. And then in the right matchups, I mean, this card can come in for just, can just come in for just a ton of damage, because you get +1 for every sane personality in play, including your opponents. So really, really strong card there. And not banish after use. Salvo is banished after use, unfortunately, but this card is another big anti-anger card. Ball control with the crits. The stage cost shouldn't be too bad, plus I have allies out to mitigate any stage cost. We have Surge at 3. Again, this is one of my only ways to recycle balls, but really this can help you cheat out a bunch of Dragon Balls into combat to Dragon Ball Vic, which is really silly if you can keep these in your deck till the end of the game. Otherwise, again, it just helps you cheat some balls out for some extra modifier potential. Resourceful Shot at 2 for ball control and just kind of utility. Force Push is just big damage. Again, not a banish after use card, but this card is a focused attack and can very easily come in for 10 life cards. Very, very easily if you have 3 balls out. Actually, shit, it comes in for 11 if you have ball 1 out, so very, very easy to get it buffed up. Overpowering attack at 1, just because ally grab is good. 3 hybrid, 1 time, 2 stare down. Just covers the bases pretty well. 3 flinch because it's just busted as heck. Yeah. There's not a ton of rejuvenation effects, but what is always nice is you can just pass and retrieve this to get an ally at worst case scenario if it's your turn. 3 reinforced block to protect the balls. 3 cross guard. Again, not a ton of rejuvenation effects, but it's there on a pass if I want to pick up a drill. And buffer at 3 because of endurance. 2. I would love to run 3. I don't think I'd want to cut a block for this card. I could see, again, Onslaught's maybe the weakest one because it's no endurance. But it is a double attack, so it's like it's hard to justify cutting. But I don't necessarily see myself cutting anything else right now, so we'll see. But buffer should probably eventually come to 3, just because of the endurance alone, and I don't have too much stage pressure, so just something to consider. I run 1 of 5 different drills. Originally, I had to do Assistance Drill because it's Smoothness Drill. I like it at 2. I just cut down to 1 for spacing. Combat Drill is just really busted. This card it makes physical matchups a complete uphill for a physical deck a lot of times. What does suck is Cell Jr. still, if he's only gaining a couple stages after getting at 0, he's still in B, but you do have allies to mitigate stage damage too, which is really good. Which Combat Drill only puts him on your MP, which is kind of a bummer. But if you redirect some damage, you can keep bumping your AT up while taking the damage on your allies, which is pretty cool. So Hospitality Drill is just a really, really good combo with Cell Jr. If you can get this drill out. It sucks that you can't search it, but if you can get it out early-ish game, or when you're still like actively searching your deck, middle game, generally when you haven't run out of all those cards that search your deck, this card is pretty good. I mean, it's a hand filter, and it can put some extra cards back in your deck, which is really, really nice. Empowering Drill, it's really in here for the scry effect. It's just so good. Again, you can't search this drill. This is arguably like weak in a sense because you can't search it, just like Hospitality. It has a little less direct synergy, but the instant power is incredible. Mitigating dead draws is really incredible. With how many dead draws there are potentially in the deck, I think it's just, if you can get it out, it's really worth getting out. It's just a very, very good drill. It does suck that you don't get the shuffle effect, but meh, oh well. It's that instant is just good enough on itself. And then Manipulation Drill. This card you can actually search. It gives you a little bit of pile hate. You're really never going to get that constant effect like ever, but it's more for the active power or the instant power, where it allows you to play your Dragon Balls a little more loosely, which is good. Because one of the main ways this deck's going to win is ball out, so it's going to be really that or beat down. Obviously the only ways you can win, but you're probably going to ball out more than you're going to beat down, I'd say. I guess we'll see. Kind of depends on the matchup. But yeah, the ally suite's pretty simple, you know, pretty standard. Again, I'm just gonna say cut Vegeta ally because he's pretty underwhelming. I never search him, and I had 6 physical attacks originally in the deck, then I cut it down to 3, so not really worth it. But yeah, I think this deck's pretty fun, pretty decent. You can run it more of a speedball variant if you wanted to. I don't think selling full in on the ball is necessarily the best. You could. Originally I had Overhead Blast in here, as well as I think there was another card. No, it was just Overhead Blast. And Silencing, yeah. Those cards, of course, have effects, parenthetical effects that protect Dragon Balls from being captured. Uh, Silencing just doesn't get procced enough. There's just not enough rejuvenation effects that I found to make it worth it, at least in the way that I had this built. And then, what was the other card? Sorry, the thing with it, I'm just completely spaced. I said the other card. Oh, Overhead Blast. The problem with Overhead Blast is it sucks if you draw it. So, yeah, I mean, that's why I ended up cutting those. I could see myself missing Overhead Blast for the parenthetical. It was pretty clutch at certain points. But if you were drawing it, it was awful. So I think I've upped the beats a bit by putting the onslaughts in and the stare downs, making their way in over this over the silencing was a good ad. But yeah, I could see Buffalo going to 3. I think stare down kind of mitigates the negative effects of like running a lower block count. And I'm not really even running a lower block count. This is still pretty high block count. It's just against energy decks. You know, I'm going to be ripping endurance, and some of my best attacks, you know, I mean, all my attacks are really, honestly, really good, but they're just all energies too. So I think this is a pretty decent list. I could see anger being kind of an issue at times. I think like really grindy Rejuvie, like I don't see like many decks beating like Enhanced Broly, for example, or a lot of the enhanced decks. They're just so grindy. You do have the potential to, I guess, beat them down. There's no unpreventable attacks in this deck, which is kind of a bummer. I'm not running like Dig or any sort of I guess making Prepped or Training Ball, I think it is Prepped Ball or Training Ball, would be really good. I could see that card making it in here because that card is just a monster. I just honestly wasn't even thinking about it till now. I've played this deck probably like less than 10 times total in the last couple weeks. But that would be a great card to throw in if I could find the spot. Maybe just run it over some of the drills. But I think the drills are just... Considering that you can run Crossguard as a block, I think it's just too hard not to run the drills when you can search a couple of them. But I could be wrong. You know, maybe cut like these 2 drills, because empowering drill and manipulation, you rarely use its effect. You know, empowering drill, of course. You know, I don't know. I really like these 2 drills a lot. They give a lot of utility. Hospitality drill you can't search, but it's really easy to get the rejuvenation too on it. But Prep Ball would be a really good card to add, or Training Ball. I always forget, I always get the 2 names mixed up. I think it's Training Ball. Would be a great add. But I think the rest of the attacks are pretty solid. You know, maybe that's really the only cards I could see coming in right now. Maybe Woof as well as one of, because Namekian's board hate is terrible. That is one of the, I would say that too. A good drill deck is gonna be a real pain in the butt, so you're gonna have to just go for ball out. You have enough ball control, and considering that Orange's main way it's gonna crit your balls is gonna be either intensity drill with an attack, or it's gonna be like a launcher or tank barrage. You are able to use reinforced buck, which is nice, and there are a few different cards that crit, or if they hit, they're probably gonna crit. So I suppose we'll see. I don't think this is by any means top 2 deck. You could definitely refine it more to whichever way you want to. Yeah, I think it's pretty fun. I think I'll try to work Training Ball in eventually here. And yeah, I hope you guys are getting out and enjoying. I'm really looking forward to the next set. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to Cooler, Turles, and Lord Slug getting new MP levels, which hopefully they are in the same vein as the ones that were previewed. I don't really see them changing too much. Maybe Cooler was a little too good. I would even argue, but after seeing the Raditz ally that came out in OP4, or sorry, MP that came out in OP4, I think that Raditz level, or the Cooler level 1 is on par with the Raditz level 1 in terms of just the raw advantage in the Anger Game. You know, so I think the only way that you're going to really have any competitive MPs coming out is if they have like Raised Anger 2, or a potential synergistic +1 plus an anger gain on level 1. It's really hard to... It's really hard for an MP to compete if they don't gain anger on the level 1. So we'll see what happens here. It'll be really interesting. I think I'm the most excited for... I want to say Cooler is what I play the most, but I really think the first thing I'm going to go for is Slug. His level 1 still kind of sucks. But we'll see what happens, you know. The new level 2, that new level 2 is really good, so. But anyway, guys, I hope you're enjoying. Get out there, play a bit. I think the best decks, the funnest decks to play are these like lower tier stuff. So, but yeah, any suggestions to the deck, post them away. If you do different variants, different focus of the deck, you know, go ahead, explain why you do it. I'd love to hear it. But yeah, guys, take it easy. Peace.